What's going on, guys? There is yet another new Marvel trailer upon us. Ant-Man. Are we excited about it? What is Ant-Man? What's going on with it? We have an awesome panel to break it down with us today. First, he's a friend of the show. He's been with us many times. Actor, comedian, Mike Carlson.
Thank you for having me, Hal.
Oh, always a pleasure. And he is a former writer for Marvel Comics, having written The Ultimates, and he's the current writer of several indie comics, including The Bunker and Life After. Let's welcome Josh Fialkov.
That was beautiful. Thank you so much for having me.
What did you guys think of the trailer overall?
I'm tentative, but at the same time, I think the fact that Edgar Wright was on the movie until so close to when it started shooting kind of gave everybody the heebie-jeebies when they kicked him out the door.
Oh, sure.
But that being said, Marvel has made very few missteps, and I think they know how important it is to keep these movies alive.
They've certainly earned they've certainly earned the benefit of the doubt at this point.
The number one thing I noticed is that anytime Michael Douglas says the name Scott, I think of Liberace and Behind the Candelabra.
Scott.
Because he goes, Scott, Scott. And he says it twice in the trailer, and that's all I have in my head.
Scott, I need you. Say yes, Scott.
As a fan of the comics, were there any nuggets in there that got you super pumped? You're like, oh yeah.
Well, my favorite nugget was when he gets on top of that ant and he's riding an ant around, because that's great. I want so much of that.
And the way that you actually, when you see the shrinking powers, there's like one really great shot of him shrinking, and we sort of stay in proportion to him. I think is awesome. It's really, really cool, and you're like, oh, okay, this is gonna work. Like, it's not gonna feel ridiculous.
How different is Ant-Man from Honey, I Shrunk the Kids?
It's the same, exact same.
Gotcha. If you leave here with one thing today, know that Ant-Man is exactly the same as Honey, I Shrunk the Kids. Let's break down what we saw a little bit in this trailer. Paul Rudd got out of jail. Michael Douglas was giving him kind of the generic superhero, you're gonna have great power and stuff kind of talk.
Paul Rudd plays Scott Lang, who is Ant-Man. There are many different Ant-Men in the Marvel Universe. There's Scott Lang, Hank Pym. There's also a guy named Eric O'Grady, who I don't think is in this movie.
And it's all pretty close to the comics. Like, that part's actually pretty spot on. Hank Pym is a foundational character for the Marvel Universe. He was actually created by Stan Lee and Larry Lieber and Jack Kirby, and he was one of the original Avengers. When Scott Lang became Ant-Man, he had just gotten out of jail, and his daughter was sick, and the only way he could get the medicine to treat his daughter was to steal the Ant-Man costume, which then inspires Hank Pym to allow him to continue to wear it, which is a very 70s Marvel story.
Paul Rudd is a pretty great choice for that because he is the kind of guy, he could be a criminal, but he's still charming.
And abs. He's got abs now, so he really...
Paul Rudd has abs?
I know,
He has
very
abs?
confusing, yeah.
Also in the trailer was Corey Stoll, who I love from House of Cards. Can you tell me a little bit about his character?
He's playing Darren Cross, who became a character called Yellow Jacket. And Yellow Jacket is sort of like the Bizarro version of Ant-Man. So he has similar powers.
He's got the technology,
yeah,
the
he has the
shrinking
same technology. Yeah, exactly. He has the same technology. In the comics, he serves as sort of like the anger that's inside Hank Pym and inside Scott Lang. Like, he serves as sort of a counterpoint to it.
Can you break down a little bit, what are the Ant-Man powers?
He can shrink down. His strength increases as he shrinks.
Yeah.
He can ride on insects, specifically ants.
He actually can mind control ants. So he can build his own little army that's at any size, whether he's little or big.
Does he ever ruin a picnic?
Trust me, if you read the comics, that guy ruined a lot of picnics. Yeah. That's one of the things about the comic, and I think there's a lot of people who are irritated that it's not about Hank Pym.
Yeah.
Because Hank Pym, there's a bunch of storylines that he's really important to. First of all, is he in the comics is one of the founding Avengers. He created Ultron, who was going to be the villain in Avengers 2. He eventually had a split personality at one point, and in fact became Yellow Jacket. And he's this very kind of deep and textured character. But now the question becomes, and for everybody who has read the comics, you start wondering, well, how much of that is actually going to come in? Is Michael Douglas actually a good guy? Is he not actually the bad guy?
Oh, so you're saying he can go all Jeff Bridges on us?
I think so, yes.
Possibly.
Yeah. Evangeline Lilly making a brief appearance in the trailer.
She plays Hope Van Dyne, which is the daughter of Janet Van Dyne.
Right, so can we expect Evangeline Lilly to be playing Wasp?
I mean, one would hope, right?
Probably.
One would hope. Here's another thing I'm wondering. This seems to be a standalone film, but Marvel is opening up the universe with Civil War and the Infinity Wars are coming up. So how do we see Ant-Man fitting into the big picture?
Well, I think that the movie will fit into the Marvel Universe just because Hank Pym is obviously a guy that seems like he's been Ant-Man before. He's had this technology for a while. So they're going to probably put in some things like where he's been superheroing now for the last, 30, 40 years.
In the comics, Hawkeye has actually a very similar origin where Hawkeye was a criminal who got reformed. So I think having this character who has the rest of the Avengers to kind of look up to and try to find his place with them, I think is really cool. And I think there's a lot of rope there. There's a lot of room for them to do something.
Let's just hope there's not enough rope for them to hang themselves.
It happens, yeah.
So let me ask you this. People aren't exactly going crazy for Ant-Man right now. But they weren't exactly going crazy. They didn't know what to expect with Guardians. Now we see what Guardians has become. Could this thing blow up like Guardians?
I mean, it has the potential to, just because it's Marvel. I mean, look, the whole point of Guardians to some degree was to see, like, okay, these characters have literally no name recognition whatsoever. Can we do it? Ant-Man is almost the next step of that, which is like, this one has a ridiculous name that nobody's going to be into. What can we do?
Is it too late to change the name?
With Ant-Man, they're probably worried to some degree about making sure that, like, no, this has stakes. And what happens in it matters, which Guardians gets almost by default because it's about the universe. Like, they're protecting, I don't know if you know this, the galaxy. So, like, you get this sense of scope with that, which you don't necessarily have in Ant-Man. So I think they're probably fighting a bit amongst the tone. Like, how do we present it so that people feel like this movie is important and essential to the whole thing while still, dealing with who we have and the script we have and the comedic potential of it.
Okay, doomsday scenario. What if Ant-Man bombs? Unthinkable in this Marvel climate. If that happens, what are the chances that Ant-Man just slinks away to his ant hill and is never to be heard from again?
Like, I think they'll bench Ant-Man for a little bit. Like, maybe there'll be some sort of a nod at Infinity War, like he's homeless or something with a cup or something. But there'll be an Ant-Man, like, in 2025. We'll get a revamped Ant-Man. It just might be a longer time if this movie doesn't do as well.
What did you think about the Ant-Man trailer? Are you excited for the movie? Let us know in the comments section below. The coolest answer? We're gonna send you a Screen Junkies t-shirt. I wanna thank my esteemed panel, Mike Carlson, thanks for being here again, and Josh Fialkov. A pleasure having you, sir.
Thank you so much.
Hey, if you're watching this show, you're probably a fan of movies. Guess what? You're in luck. Now you can watch free full-length movies online via Movies on Break. We have a ton of movie categories for you to choose from, including Screen Junkies approved. To start watching free full-length movies right now, go to break.com/movies or check it out on any of Break's free mobile apps. What are you waiting for, you filthy animal? Thank you for watching. I'm Hal Rudnick. Hit me up on Twitter. Bye-bye.
This was the movie that got leaked online, so he wasn't going to make it,
Yep.
and then now he is. It's a revenge western. I love Django Unchained.
Inside Out, the next Pixar movie.
Yeah.
The other one I think people aren't talking about yet is Tomorrowland, which is Brad Bird's movie, co-written by Damon Lindelof
Yeah.
with George Clooney, and it's about this alternate dimension where it's like this futuristic thing. The trailer was really good, really good tease.
Yeah, really striking teaser.